You're listening to the 2 Cents Podcast, brought to you by Capital One Cafe. Today, we're at the Capital One Cafe in Union Square in New York City. I'm sipping a matcha lemonade.
I'm drinking a caramel latte.
And I'm sipping a vanilla rose.
If you want to try any of the handcrafted beverages we just mentioned, use our link in the description below. It's on us.
You're listening to the 2 Cents Podcast. I'm James Daniels.
And I'm Hannah Williams.
And we're here with our content manager, Drea.
Hi, Drea.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for coming.
So, Drea, you are our actual full-time team member, the only other person on our team that is full-time 100%. How long have you been working with us now?
So I guess in total it's been about 2 years, we'll say. But yeah, full time about 8 months.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think to start off, it would be really cool to know, who are you? Where are you from? What did you study in school? And how did you get here?
Okay. So let's backtrack a bit. So originally from California, born and raised there, but made it out to DC for grad school. That's why I initially brought it out there.
You went to Georgetown, right?
I was at Georgetown. So yeah. Alumni, love it. But yeah, that's what I wanted to go. So I was initially starting in finance, and that's kind of where I started overall with my, life after undergrad. And then, really decided that I wanted to make a switch. Something just didn't really fit quite right. And that, and I was lucky enough to have a boss at the time who kind of saw that in me, from different, things that I was kind of gearing towards, and just the ways that I was taking on clients in my role. So I had a conversation with him one day, and he was just like, I think I see like a little bit of marketing in you. So that kind of prompted the switch. And luckily, I was kind of taking the courses and just like really studying to make sure that I was equipped for it. And sure enough, got into Georgetown. So I was really excited for that opportunity. I got my master's degree in integrated marketing there.
Love it.
And yeah, along the way, I was back into education at Howard University. And it was an amazing 2-3 years there. So I was, fully in, student education, a lot of thought leadership, and just overall like advocation for the community. So it was really nice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so we met you, what was it, 2 years ago or so at our first birthday party, but you came with your now fiance, Blake, and you actually like didn't know our page correctly, or you weren't like that familiar with it. And he brought you. What motivated you to attend this birthday party? And you were like, I don't know who they are.
Other than your now fiance.
Right.
Yeah. So I think initially, like, I've always been someone who asked questions about like pay transparency in any role. I was always curious about like how I could either get there, and what I could do to kind of like either level up, because it was just really important to me to know how I could like better myself, in whatever stage I was at. So when my fiance Blake kind of told me about it, he was just telling me a little bit of the page, and I was excited to kind of go. So I was like, okay, like let's go. Normal day. So didn't really have any expectations about what could bring to the table, but was just kind of excited to meet the faces behind the page and heard so many good things. And I think just seeing you guys like front and center was so amazing, and just like good energy off the bat. So loved it. Yeah.
I think we even did an interview with you.
Yeah.
We did.
We'll put it in right here.
I do content strategy and presidential comms.
And how much do you make doing what you do?
$78K.
You feel really compensated?
I do. Yeah.
So when we met you, you were working at Howard University. Do you remember how much you were making then?
I was making $78K, and I think I just had got a raise, so that was good. Yeah. But I think it was good in terms of, I felt a lot of wholeness, I guess, in what I was doing in terms of, providing benefits for students and getting to do a lot of advocacy work, getting to work with the president a lot. So really getting to like shape the young minds and show them what it meant to, kind of really put themselves out there and the things that they're doing, and kind of just have that overall growth in, young students. That was really important to me. So yeah, I think, I was always an advocate of myself to know that the money would come. So that was definitely something that I was still, constantly talking about my boss and people who were in those positions for me. Yeah.
I mean, people we've interviewed in higher education are traditionally not well compensated. I mean, if you interview a professor who's been there, who has tenure, they're usually making good money. But like everybody else is just, from what we've seen, criminally underpaid.
Yeah, but I think it's more so because they're seeking that job satisfaction rather than that pay.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a twofold. You
Yeah.
can't have
Yeah.
the service and the good pay at the same time.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Unless you work for us, which is a really good
Yes.
segue.
Yeah.
So I remember after we met, we stayed in contact for a little bit because you had talked to me about having interest in working with us on a marketing capacity.
Mhm.
And at the time, we weren't hiring. So I remember we started working on a part-time basis. And we worked together for about a year, I think,
Yeah.
on a part-time basis. And
Yeah.
you helped us make videos for our birthday and stuff. I think what you bring a lot to the table here that's a lot very interesting to our audience is telling them how to shoot their shot and, the patience behind it and whether there's a strategy. Is there anything that you can share with our audience about what you learned from that experience? Putting yourself out there, making the ask, making the pitch, even if you don't know what that looks like on the other side.
Yeah, I think for sure, just be confident. 100% of it is like, it's honestly going to be a no if you don't ask.
Yep.
So I think that's always how I go into the situation.
Very valid.
And just be yourself. I think a lot of times, like, you're overthinking it in your head. And I think sometimes I even do that. Like, I remember even having a conversation with my fiance, like, I feel like this feels good and she seems like so dope. And I just want to ask the question. And I was like, I have my resume. I'm already prepared. I like updated it because I know I want these next steps. And he's like, okay, well, you're set. You've already answered it. Like, just so I was like, yeah, like, I'm answering all these things. It just makes sense to kind of do that next thing. So for sure, take the shot. I think always be prepared in terms of making sure that you're never leaving anything on the table. So whether that's like making sure your resume is updated, having, like your samples ready to go, like when that opportunity comes. So you're not scrambling
Right.
when that moment might come, I think is the really important thing there. So kind of seamless to have that conversation. I think, after some back and forth conversations with you and through email, I was just like, would you like take a meeting, coffee, like some, and it was quick, because I think
Yeah.
one thing that we realized about like CEOs and founders is like, you might only have 5-10 minutes. So you got to make those moments count. And I think one thing that my parents and dad always expressed to me is you got to make those first impressions because that might be the only one that you get. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
that's
you did a
something.
great job at making
I
a
was
first
gonna say.
impression. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned being confident, and it's so funny you say that because that was my immediate impression of you when I met you. I was like, she's confident. She knows what she wants, and maybe you didn't, maybe you weren't sure, but it gave me satisfaction to think like, okay, she's got a good head on her
Yeah.
shoulders. She would make a really good addition to our team. Like I felt that from you. So it really is sometimes vibes instead of, complete hard skills. So I think it's important to lead with that confidence.
Yeah.
It definitely turned around for us. So then we worked together part-time, and I think we made an offer for you to come full-time. What
Mhm.
was it, October last year?
October, I want to say it was
September, maybe?
maybe September actually. And then I officially got onboarded in
Mhm.
October it was.
Mhm.
And I want to say, yeah, October 13th was maybe my start date, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And you had moved from DC to
Yeah.
New York City. Why did you make the move?
So the timing was interesting. I didn't think like that was going to happen in terms of how that unfolded. Again, at the time, like we were kind of just realizing that we were looking for something new. And I think with just the wave of how everything was going, me and my fiance were just like, DC is always home, but I think for him, he was definitely looking to figure out like what was next for his career. And I think he knew that that would be somewhere like in New York and just kind of like leveling up in terms of, again, like that confidence or just like stepping outside of comfort zones for us is like always something that we kind of just try to think about. So yeah, I think we always kind of just try to make sure that we're being each other's support system. So that was something I heard that he really wanted. So it was a no-brainer for me, I think, like to have the support there that he once gave me. Yeah, followed suit. I think that was also what I was nervous about, like when we were kind of doing the job thing. So I remember asking you those same questions, like, is this okay? Like, can we do this? Because I really wanted to come work with Salary Transparent Street too. I wanted that to be a thing. So just making sure that was, also good.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me that you're like, I'm moving to New York. And at first it was like, is this going to work? But the beauty of our business and what we do is it's 100% remote. I mean, we just moved to Philly, so we're not in DC anymore either. And so it wasn't even a problem for me. I was like, well, do you have a laptop? Do you have a phone? We can work together, So I think it worked out for all of us.
Yeah.
You get to be in New York and also still get to work with us, which I guess leads me to my next question. You've been working with us since about October. Do you mind telling our audience how much you make?
I make 100K. Feel very compensated, very
Love
well
it.
compensated.
Love it. Hopefully, we'll get you a raise here soon.
Yeah, we're looking into that.
Yeah, and it's been as a, founder perspective, it's been very interesting to have a full-time employee and
Yeah.
to be considering that, making sure that you're well compensated. I know when I was looking at how much we should pay you, it was less about what the role was like in the market and more so what would be affordable for New York City because I knew you had made the move, and that what is it? A content manager can make anywhere from $40,000 to 200,000, depending on the company you work at. And we have to talk the talk, not just walk the walk. And so I'm glad to hear that you're well compensated, and hopefully we can continue to make sure that you're well compensated throughout.
So now you're in this new role. With your background, do you feel as though that helped secure this role, or any things that you learned that helped out with this new role?
Yeah, 100%. I think my background definitely helped. I made it a point to know that I wanted to go into something specific as like integrated marketing to get me that digital marketing background, that progression in terms of like branding and thought leadership to kind of propel me to be in front of like leaders like Hannah and just other executives that, kind of need to pour out their ideas and kind of think it all the way through. So for me, I was very intentional about like how I wanted to show up for this. I took a pause before I decided to even do the marketing, the masters, because it can be expensive. Save your
Right.
coins,
And
whatever you need to do.
Georgetown.
Yes,
Yeah,
and Georgetown,
Goodness.
pretty penny. But I think,
Mhm.
yeah, you have to be sure for sure. Don't just do it because someone is telling you. I didn't rush it. I took my time. And people will support you like once you're there. But I think you have to make that decision when it's good for you. And if it's not, there's a bunch of other things that you can do, whether that's like through courses, and even trade schools. So I think like look and see what makes sense for you. And if it's not that, there's always other avenues. And do your research, talk to people who you might know are in your industry and see like what avenues they took to be successful.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I know one of the things that matters to us is content. And one of the things that I loved about working with you that you did very well was editing and pulling together content. And I don't think there's a degree that can teach that, but you were doing it
Yeah.
already, so showing us that you had that skill and giving that assignment like, hey, can you make a video for our anniversary, our birthday, tell us, put
Yeah.
something together, tell a story. You did that very well.
Yeah.
How did you pick up those skills? Just by doing it yourself?
Yeah. So for those ones, I will say a little bit of like self-taught and some courses. So, I made it a point, same thing, to advocate for that myself in those things when I was in different roles through bosses saying like, hey, I want to spend some time like working through editing videos. This is important to me, especially showing up and, like at the time it was students. So this is the way that I'm seeing that they show up in the world. We have to
Right.
catch them, through visual components. This is the way that we're going to be able to market to them effectively.
Mhm.
And really show that you're also advocating for them. So that was important for me to kind of like be boots on the ground and see like what they were actually watching. So that's
Mhm.
kind of where I picked up those skills and yeah, just kind of ran with it. And it honestly turned into like a love of mine the same. So I
Love
loved
it.
that. It kind of fell hand in hand when I came to you guys too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, definitely. So tell us a little bit about your role at Salary Transparent Street. Your title is content manager, but it's kind of been like a make it your own and,
Yeah.
and really flexible. And
Mhm.
I do apologize for that. We are really a startup.
Yeah,
and
yeah, we're a
so
startup.
sometimes the requirements just change on a daily basis. And it's really like figuring it out as we go. But what has your role looked like so far?
Yeah, I think every day is different. So I honestly love that. It gives me a chance to kind of just like be really creative and just again ask for feedback and advice. I would say I'm doing a mix between like short term and like long form content. So a lot of like writing for me right now, which I love. So a lot of like written form, which I think is my bread and butter,
Mhm.
just to kind of like get to really, like think through those pieces, and then a lot of strategy. So I think for me, like that feels really good. And then also the chance, I think you guys have really given me the chance to like, just be able to like stumble a little bit in things that I don't know. And I think it's really good to not always be right or like know where you're going to go. I think that's the beauty of learning and like always stepping into something new. So
Mhm.
I love that about startups. I think it's always good just to kind of keep yourself on your toes. And I think even when it comes to like social media and how the world is like pivoting, you have to kind of be quick and, be adaptable and just be like open to the change. So
Mm-hmm.
I love being able to kind of just like think on my feet and, open a new day. So
Yeah,
it's good.
literally.
Yeah, that's awesome. So on the same role of, working with a startup, you've had a pretty vast background now as
Mm-hmm.
far as content
Yeah.
goes. What have you noticed is the big differences between working with like a school like
Mm-hmm.
Howard and then working with a startup like us?
Do you have a preference?
Oh, tough. I think different roles, if that makes sense. So I
Yep.
think with something that's like more education, you probably know like where you're gonna head. Maybe like sound structure in terms of like what the students' day to day could look like.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to kind of anticipate a little bit more in terms of like what they could want. Maybe if it's like a holiday is coming up, so I could like plan
Right.
for that. But not to say that those things couldn't change when it came to like crisis communications. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was something that I found myself in a lot of.
Right.
So I think
For
again,
sure.
that's something that is always going to be there, which I was really appreciative that still like showed up even in like roles now. So, and I think with Sally Transparent Street, I'm getting a lot more of like creative freedom to do the
Mm-hmm.
things that are important to me, and still getting to like focus on those pieces that still might be like consistent, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess in
yeah.
that way.
Absolutely.
So of course we have a content calendar and we know like what's going on. So I do like having a set schedule like that. Like we have, our Snapchat pieces and the Instagram. So
Mm-hmm.
like all of those things have their cadences. So that kind of gives me that structure. But still allowing, like time and things that just pop up. So I think again, being flexible and being adaptable to know that like change is okay and
Yeah.
you will be okay.
That's really like sometimes we don't know what we're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
today,
And that's
and every day is
yeah.
different. So I would just want to say we really appreciate you having such a good attitude about that, because it's hard sometimes to not have like a really rigid structure and to make that change over from a different industry where you
Mhm.
know what the calendar is, when summer break is, you know when to plan these things, and it can be hectic in the content creator world. So I think you've taken it in stride and done a really good job, and you're a really great part of our team. So we appreciate you.
You guys have been great.
Yeah,
So, love
you've
to be
taken
here.
the lead on the newsletter. If you haven't read our newsletter yet, definitely go check it out. We'll link it in the description below. But you have really taken the lead on that, and our Snapchat, making
Yeah.
our thumbnails, and our Snapchat has gone through the roof. We were
Yeah,
just talking
love
about
it.
this the other
Yeah.
day, that
So
our following is up by like 40%, I
Yeah.
believe, and that's attributable to
amazing. Yeah. And that's something I didn't know like how it was gonna go, where, that even started. So I was happy to, have the trust that you guys gave me to even take that on. And still learning. So I love doing it. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
been good.
and same here. We're still learning.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
There's
still
no
learning.
playbook.
But with that, we have a lot of people who are watching this episode, possibly even content creators themselves or looking
Mhm.
to get into the content creator world.
Mhm.
You being a social media manager, like when would you think that a content creator would need someone that handles your role?
I would say when you feel like you've established your niche for sure. And you just maybe need like more sounding boards once you know that like you are solid in your market. And now you just want to kind of like expand and tap into other avenues. So I kind of think of them as like umbrella brands, so
Yeah.
to speak. But yeah, like kind of like now outstretching to see like what your brand can kind of reach. So I think
Yeah.
that's kind of when you can make the switch. But I think it's always good to just, take things a step at a time and do things that feel right to you.
That's a
That's
great
good.
answer, because we literally started expanding
Yeah.
right around the time that we brought you on this podcast. We're also working
Yeah.
on some other secret projects. Secret, but coming
Yeah.
soon. So we really appreciate your help with all of that, because it's hard for us to do it all by ourselves. Like
Yeah.
it's really a good reason that we've expanded our team.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And I would say too, like I was really glad that we started something even on a part-time basis, see how, the flow would be for both of us. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good.
That's
So,
a good point.
yeah.
I hope people listening might take that as a good piece of advice, that
Mhm.
like you don't have to jump all in,
Right.
especially with a smaller like company like ours. We don't really know what we need all the time, and so we're looking for the right people. And so having the flexibility to take on a role, maybe balancing it with another full-time job, but making sure that it's the right thing for you and the company that hires you,
Yeah.
really made it so easy for us to bring you on full-time, because we had had the trial. We knew we worked well together. We loved your work. And so we've just been really grateful to have you on ever since.
Yeah, it felt really good, honestly. So I
Yeah.
think, that was, I think what made it, such a easy transition, I think after that, to know that like we had the chemistry already there. So it felt like really good. And it was like a no-brainer for me to accept. So
Yeah. And I remember you were talking about your other company, like there
Yeah.
was some problems, and I was like, we got to get her out of this.
Yeah, we need to rescue
Yeah.
her.
We need to rescue her, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting one, but happy to be here. I think, New York, I think, will always give you some challenges and make you stronger in that way. So it's been an interesting one, but thankful to be a part of the team, and it's been amazing. So
Yeah,
I
it's
love
been
it.
fun having you out there when we're filming too, because it's nice to have somebody else out there to give us a little bit of an energy boost when we get a lot of no's.
Definitely.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
do it so well.
So tell us a little bit about your career goals. What are you hoping to achieve with Salary Transparency or overall? Tell us a little bit about what's in the future for you.
Yeah, so I think with Salary Transparency, again, like we talked about leveling up. So I loved how we set like really clear goals for me just to like see where I could get in terms of, just brand director and all of those things. So again, I'm big on like thought leadership and really getting to like craft those pieces. So I hope I can kind of expand that when it comes to, either in this role and even as like the roles continue. So just kind of being a sounding board and always just giving expertise, dig into insights. That's always been something that's always been like my bread and butter. So kind of seeing why people do what they do, and always asking the question why has always been something that's been like fascinating to me, especially with marketing. So it's interesting. It's like not going anywhere anytime soon. And I think with the visual aspect and just the climate, especially with AI now, like it's not going anywhere. So you have to kind of, again, develop your skills, learn it through, and kind of welcome the chaos and change, so to speak. But see how you can kind of pivot yourself against to be like an expert in that sense.
Yeah. I'm also hoping to see more content from you
Yeah.
directly, personally.
Same.
Yeah, because I, not to be selfish or
Yeah.
anything, but I'm also thinking like you're a really good voice of our brand. Like you working for Salary Transparency. I when I had my, videos that I was making, I was always worried about my boss seeing it and what they would think. But I almost want you to create content because I think it would be such a fun project for you to also have your own thing, learn your own things from your own brand. But you're such a good face and advocate for us that I'm like, I want our employees to talk about, working for us and what you do, because I think that'd be so fun.
Yeah. No, I like it. I feel like I've always thought about the like dabbling in it. So again, it's just about starting, and I hate that I give like the same advice that sometimes I don't take myself.
Same.
It's a tough one. But no, I welcome it, and I hope you guys can push me to do that a little bit more. We were just talking about the fact that like I want to do that and be more consistent. So let's do it for sure.
So we'll tag Drea down
Tag
below.
more
So go ahead
information.
and follow her and tell her you want to see her content too.
Right.
Love it.
Just before we wrap up, kind of want you to just look at the audience and give them a piece of advice, like something that comes directly from you.
Okay. Well, I would say for sure, just shoot your shot. Anytime that you want to do something, honestly, just give it your all, put your energy and ambition towards it. And honestly, it'll work itself out. So I think, again, like it's a no if you don't take the chance. And there's always something that you can learn from. So if you take something away from that, you're in a good position to succeed.
We are so glad you shot your shot with us.
Yeah.
And shout out to your fiance, Blake, for bringing
shout
you
out
to
Blake.
our birthday
Amazing.
as well.
He
When's
killed it.
the wedding date?
It is going to be January 31st. So
Very exciting. That's
We're
right around
up
the
and
corner.
running. It is. Yeah. So
I love it.
love that man. So he's doing well. Love it.
Well, we love you, and we're really grateful for you, coming on and being transparent with the audience as well, and just being such a great addition to our team.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been amazing. Can't wait for the journey ahead.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. If you want to try a free handcrafted beverage from Capital One Cafe, be sure to use the link in the description below. It's on us. And thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.